Hello, it's Billy from Insanity Samples. We're checking out a deep dive of the first demo for Screamin Blues Collection. This is the Moody Blues demo. If you haven't checked it out, take a listen before you take this deep dive. So let's just dive into each instrument and see what's actually going on within the collection. Because ultimately at the core of this library, as you'll probably know if you've seen the walkthrough, this is the culmination of our overlay system that we started in Haunted Strings 2 and have been developing ever since. We've gotten to the point now where these instruments are just so playable and performable without the need for key switching. The option is there for those that are really just hardwired into that way of working, but if we move to overlaying and one of our performance modes or build our own, we can create an environment where we preset all of our velocity based articulation changes and then just go for it in performance. And if anything ever happens in performance and you happen to catch the incorrect articulation because you played the note too hard or too soft, it's so easy just to pop the piano roll open, come down to your velocity control and adjust the velocity until the note hits the correct range for that articulation, which is just so much quicker than trying to move key switches into specific little areas in between notes or just ultimately littering your score with messy key switches. It just removes all of that and really makes the piece about performance and musicianship. Okay, so let's check out the upright bass. Let's have a quick listen. We get a really cool low raked note here where the strings have just been raked down, and then we get this really buzzy low E. We recorded so many notes on the low E to go from the quietest articulations all the way up to the really buzzy singing character and nuance to the sound. Let's take a listen. Just a nice basic walking bass line inspired by some earlier blues tracks. Okay, very cool. You can hear the life being breathed into that by the performer there. Okay, let's jump into the drums briefly to see what's going on with this groove. Just a basic kind of bluesy groove. And of course with the drums, the unique quality here is just the sheer amount of signals you have per drum. So you can create all of the bleed mic signals as if you have the kit on the session, on the day yourself in a studio, and you can blend and mix to taste. Very cool. All right, let's jump up to the Hammond organ. So initially the Hammond organ is just kind of taking care of some chord stabs. You kind of need the bass in context here because these are rootless voicings, so they don't really sound like an E dominant 7 without the bass in there. So let's drop it in and take a listen. So just some basic voicings with this nice stab towards the end. As we head into the Hammond solo, we start really making use of the Leslie cab here for fast and slow, which is hard mapped to your mod wheel by default, but you can right click that and remove it and assign it to any slider you wish just by clicking learn and wiggling the slider. Very cool. Okay, let's dive into just briefly to show you what's going on with this. The picked Resonator guitar is really just holding down the basic kind of groove of the piece. It's really playing the part of the rhythm guitar here. But what we've got is we've got it linked into the chord mode only. And as a result, it is making use of the power chord, the kind of root and fifth up to the root and sixth, classic bluesy thing. There is an opening special effects performance here, which is just a slide. They are situated above the natural range of the instrument, and you can turn them off and on with the key switch D1 or this button here. there's some really cool release sounds there as well, as the fingers kind of move around through the frets and create that classic kind of squeak on the strings. This can be turned on and off with a mechanical release button or turned down in the mix section. It just adds so much realism. I really love it. And you won't run into the issue of getting multiple of these release sounds because it is coded in a specific way to allow only the release sound once there are no notes active at all on the instrument. Okay, so jumping up to the blues harp now. It's a real shining part of this library. It's so expressive. It's full of character and emotion. And with the harp, with players live, of course, the overlay functionality really comes into its own, because we can, just like a real player, just change on the spin of a dime to a new articulation, to a new sound. A player can go from playing the subtlest, softest long note to something really aggressive and bending and screaming, up to vamping some chords as they take breaths, but making use of that breath by creating chord tones as well. You can do all of that with the overlay system, and you never have to touch a key switch. It's so powerful. Let's take a listen to this. So cool. So much energy and vibrance and life. It just sounds human. It's just beautiful to listen to. Okay, let's jump into the slide, because that also takes a solo a bit later on. Let's skip to that. And again, the overlay functionality really shining here, really showing you how you can jump between articulations on the fly just by using different velocities in your performance. Once you get comfortable with the velocities that are within this library, it becomes so natural and second nature to just perform. Though if you're more of a kind of MIDI input type of musician or composer, then of course putting these notes in manually by clicking and then just adjusting the velocity is as quick a way to get into these articulations as any. Let's take a listen. Oh, I love it. There's just so much natural quality to it. Just you can hear the instrument in the room. It's just like it's right there with you. And again, there's no key switches being used here. Everything is being driven by velocity, and it's tapping into different overlay articulations. It's just a very powerful engine. Okay, that's kind of an overview of what's actually going on here. I'm sure you've probably heard the demo, but as we're here, let's just take a listen to the whole thing in context now. Awesome. Okay, for more information, more demos, more walkthroughs, and information on the library in general, head to insanitysamples.com. Thank you for watching.